Today is a really kind of sad anniversary for the United States. It's the 5th anniversary of the deadly Capitol riots, when thousands stormed the U.S. Capitol after a so-called Stop the Steal rally. Last week, testimony from former special counsel Jack Smith was released, where he laid out what led to the destruction that day. Take a look.
The decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine. But the basis for those charges rests entirely with President Trump and his actions. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election and to prevent the lawful transfer of power. Our case was built on, frankly, Republicans who put their allegiance to the country before the party. President Trump was, by a large measure, the most culpable and most responsible person in this conspiracy. These crimes were committed for his benefit. The attack that happened at the Capitol, as part of this case, does not happen without him.
Now, the events of January 6th were fueled by lies about election fraud. But 5 years later, you know who is back in power. He pardoned all the rioters. So will Jack Smith's testimony have any impact? And I must say, they released it when nobody was looking.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, they put it out. They didn't really say much about it. They just kind of slipped it in and put it out there.
Oh,
but
we got
really,
it. We got it right there. We just showed it
well,
to you.
Well, not only did we show it to you, but there is more to it. And we'll put links if anybody else wants to see it, because I think it's important for people to know what went down and why they did why Jack Smith did what he did, why he felt it was important enough. And when he says beyond a reasonable doubt,
he felt that he could prove these cases to 2 different juries beyond a reasonable doubt. We're talking about a career prosecutor. He's been a prosecutor for over 3 decades. And so he explained that there's a 225-page transcript that was released on New Year's Eve. A lot of people didn't read it. I myself enjoyed it and did read it. There was it was videotaped as well. There's an 8 hours of footage that you can watch on YouTube. I did that as well. And what was most
we'll
put it on our website. And
what
what was most interesting to me is that it proved to me what I always thought, that Donald Trump ran for the presidency a second time to evade going to prison. I think there is no question now in my mind, because remember, he was also found guilty of 34 counts of fraud in New York, and he would have gone to prison for that. But you cannot indict a sitting president. And so those 2 cases that Jack Smith and a team of crackerjack prosecutors worked on went away immediately, because that is Department of Justice policy. And he will never be sentenced in the New York case as well. So he ran, I really do think, because he didn't want to go to jail.
Right. And the first time he ran was to make money.
Yes.
Well, it's always odd to me to reflect on the events of January 6th, because for me it was always a deal breaker. And it's hard to now look at this stat that came from CBS polling in 2025. The percentage of Republicans who strongly disapprove of the January 6th attack has dropped more than 20 points since January 6th, from 51% to 30%. So only 30% of the Republican Party even strongly disapprove of what we saw on that day. And
pathetic.
Mike Pence posted today some comments basically calling January 6th a dark day, praising that the Constitution held. And I want to remind folks, I think Republicans have the privilege of not caring about January 6th because Mike Pence did the right and hard thing. This would be a very different conversation if he'd not certified the election, if we'd not moved forward and sworn in the duly elected president, who was Joe Biden then. And I just wish we would pause and think about that. What could that have looked like if they had thrown this back to the states? We could have had a very different course of history. We could have had very dangerous events around this country.
We need Abraham Lincoln to come back from the dead.
Well, and I think that we have to, I think it's worth reminding people how they felt in the initial aftermath, because every Republican politician around the country was denouncing it. They were saying it was wrong. They were saying
Lindsey,
it was beyond
Mitch
the pale.
McConnell, they both voted to acquit him, though, after he was impeached.
Yeah.
But I think it's because an event like January 6th goes from being a factual event to a symbolic event very quickly. And it starts to have, it's not just the interpretation of what it was, it becomes like, was it a insurrection? Was it a protest gone bad? Was it just tourists, which one congressperson said? And I think we've lost a certain baseline of civil agreement when we justify or defend what happened on January 6th.
Before our very eyes, on tape.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you can feel aggrieved and you can feel left out but if we can't all agree that violence and destruction is not okay, we've missed the big messaging here. And when I think of January 6th, I think of not only how divided this country is, because it became a reflection of who you are and which side you were on. That is why it's no longer based in facts. It's based in chosen realities almost.
Yeah, but he still has his base.
Yes, but I mean, I think the biggest part is the divide. It's also the symbol of the erosion of trust in our institutions. And most importantly, it becomes, are we even capable of disagreeing with each other without dehumanizing each other?
But do you remember how united this country was the day after January 6th? I think so many people came together and said, this is wrong.
For a minute, that's my point. It very quickly became the jersey you're wearing, not the facts.
But we were there, and I think one of the things that is most despicable to me is that when Trump got back into power, he pardoned the January 6th.
first thing he did.
The first thing he did, he pardoned people that were guilty of an insurrection, people that were
beating up cops,
hurt cops. People died on that day. And I'll also say this, what was surprising to me is today, those very people are going back to the Capitol, to the ellipse, to protest something.
Well,
I mean, that is astonishing.
that's
that
the
our democracy
definition
is
of,
there.
that is the definition of chutzpah.
Yeah, the
well,
hubris.
let me tell you also what the definition of chutzpah
Yeah.
is. You know, the January 6th plaque to honor the law enforcement, folks, is nowhere to be found in the Capitol. Nearly 100 Congress members have mounted replicas outside their office doors to show. But I'm going to suggest something else. I would like all those Congress people to make copies of those plaques and make posters and put them up on every light post, put them up on every, because
The plaque is honoring the Capitol Police.
yes,
that were,
yes,
Yeah.
and they need to. But can you show the where they found? That's what it looks like. Yes.
This symbol of democracy.
Yes. Do you know where they found it?
No.
They found it in a back room behind a refrigerator.
Where was it originally?
Well, it was supposed to go
It was
up
supposed to-
on the what because
It never
by
went
law,
up.
it's supposed to be shown. So I say
They found it in
if
May in
what
the
you're going to
basement.
do this,
Wow.
if you're going to do it like that and you're going to put it in basements and stuff, then make posters and put them all over the city so people remember what went on here.
Yeah.
This was not a joke. Hang Mike Pence is not a friendly thing.
Yeah.
It's not a friendly thing.
Yeah.
That officer who was crushed between the doors.
Yeah.
Do you remember that
Yeah.
visual?
Yeah.
Take a look at those.
Remember Harry Dunn, who came
Yes.
on this show
Yes.
and said that it had changed his life forever? He suffered mental health.
Yeah. Listen, you know,
problems.
I'm sorry. When people talk about, you know, they want to see the right thing done in other countries, well, we try to do something in this country, and where is all that
justice
That justice for that. We got a country that we could use some help with, but we're over, you know, and I don't know. I just I get frustrated and I realize
Because there are
that
a lot of factors right now that didn't exist even during Watergate. The Supreme Court has helped abated him.
Yes.
Abetted him, rather.
Yeah.
You know, he says he's bringing prices down. He hasn't done that.
Well, he was supposed to do that day one.
The main thing is he promised his voters no foreign wars.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are.